Super excited. This is going to be your new favorite bourbon.
Oh, this must be a 33-year MGP.
Yep, it is. I've
33 year.
spent $2,500 on it. Tonight, we're going to try a bottle. I've been holding on to it for a while. Been scared to share it. But we're finally
Because it was so good, or
because it's interesting.
oh dear,
There was hope. I personally thought the hope kind of let me down, but there's hope.
There was a lot of talk about this one.
There's a lot of hype. It's got a cool story. It's got some cool people behind it. I'm excited to see what Chuck thinks about it. And that means tonight we are drinking the one and only thing we could be drinking. And I bet you Chuck could probably guess it by now. We're going to try some Hidden Barn.
Oh, that would have been my guess from your description. TJ was super hyped by this.
I was.
And then the tasting notes came out and I was like, yep. No, I'm going to pass. And now here I am drinking it. So Here we go.
So cool story. So for those of you that don't know, Jackie Zykan, lead master taster for Old Forester, decided to quit, start her own gig, and got behind this cool name, Hidden Barn. It's in reference to during Prohibition, how if you've been in Kentucky and you're distilling, there's moss on everywhere. It's called distiller's moss. It's black. So all the community got together and painted their barns black so nobody knew where the moonshiner was.
Distilling.
I mean, which makes sense because if you want to get some moonshine, protect the guy. And so they did that. And so that's what is called Hidden Barn. They also, all the yeast is random that they find in the wild. I guess they just go backpacking and they're like, hey, there's yeast, and they take it and then they throw it in their fermenter, and that's what they do.
Wild yeast.
It's wild yeast. So they said random stuff about that, found it on a tree while hiking. I don't know. So interesting stuff. It's from the Neeley family distillery up the road on the way to Cincinnati from Louisville in Kentucky. So all the right stuff to make a good product. If I remember right, it is non-age stated. So yeah, we will see what we think. So right off the bat, I get some grainy notes on the nose.
I was trying not to lead with that, but I literally couldn't think of anything else. So that's
yeah.
You guys know how much I love grain.
Yeah, it's definitely very corny.
Yeah, like you stepped into a mill.
Yeah,
yeah, almost more malty. More than corn. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Doughy.
Yeah, young, crafty.
Ooh. That's there's a lot going on there.
Yes.
What was it that we tasted recently? We were like, oh, it was the little book. The new little book, chapter 6. We were like, this has got a lot going on. It's not necessarily good, but it's got a lot going on.
Yeah. So this is one I opened up. I tried it. Couldn't figure out what I thought of it. Went back. Couldn't figure out what I thought about it. Went back. And I was like, I still don't know what I think about it, but I don't think I like it. Because it is very unique. I don't think I've ever tasted any bourbon like it before.
Okay, so if I were to compare this to a food, this is Raisin Bran cereal.
Interesting.
I am getting a dried fruit note. So there's some dates and raisin going on. That's really weird mixed in with the grain and the wheat. That's why I say Raisin Bran. It's I don't know. There's a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
Still identifying them all.
I mean, I get a pronounced cinnamon note in the palate initially. And so Heather, I was as close to Raisin Bran. I wasn't getting as much of the dried fruit that you were. But I was going to say it's like oatmeal, that you don't add too much water to when you cook it. So it's mostly the oatmeal, a little bit of cinnamon that you added. A little bit of sweet maybe, but it's mostly that like kind of a dried oat,
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
like an undercooked oat.
Yeah. 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 Oats is dominating. Definitely, like, there's a hint of sweetness.
And then definitely on the finish, there's some grassy notes, some hay, wet grass back there.
I mean, yeah, it definitely shows its youngness in that grain. The sweetness, a little bit of spice. TJ, you said it's completely unique. I mean, I think it reminds me of a lot, some of those 80 laws that we've had. Is it better at this age than maybe some of those were? Probably. But still, I mean, it's a young whiskey, and that's, especially that much grain forward, is not my cup of bourbon.
Yeah. And to be fair, I will admit they put, I think, batch 4 at Liquor Barn today for $79, and I was not tempted at all. That's the other problem. You're talking $70 to $80 per bottle. And that's a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah. I think you're hitting the nail on the head there with the youngness, because definitely I like the finish better than the palate. The palate to me, like that, whenever I first take a sip, it's like those young notes, and it's coming in strong. It's coming a little too hot. And then it kind of mellows out. And then there's like a lot going on with that finish. So the finish is better. But yeah, there's still just like, it's just too much.
Yeah.
It's too much. Not quite hitting the right things either. It's like when you have too many cooks in the kitchen, like if there were one thing that were strong and then there were like the other things in the background, it would be okay. But so many things are strong, kind of like competing for that dominant flavor note. I wouldn't totally write it off. I mean, anytime somebody starts something new and you're starting off with younger stuff. Now, I know this is not age stated, but
right,
like you gain experience. You have to start somewhere. So, like, we know that bourbon is different, right? Like every version's going to be a little bit different. So, I don't know. I wouldn't write it off. But you're right. The price point's a little high.
Yeah. I would pay this price for an 8-year hidden barn. Like I would trust them with 8-year stock. This non-aged $80 is. I am willing to say though that if you're at the distillery, it would be worth trying if they have it at the distillery to try.
We're always up for trying things, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's different from buying an ounce versus buying 750 milliliters.
Yeah.
So I'm this is a hard pass, and it's a hard pass for the next at least 4 years. So, like Wilderness Trail, they just released their 8-year, which is phenomenal. And that's similar price point, right?
Yeah.
So there's no way that I'm picking this up. It feels, who knows the dynamics going on behind the scenes before this release. So you can't really, it's probably unfair to put this on Jackie as the release. Could have been, people need money, right? Businesses need cash flow to operate. And they probably brought in Jackie to hopefully sell some of these younger bottles, to be honest. So how much influence she actually had on this release or choice in to release it now versus release it in 2 years. But at some point, again, you got to have cash flow. So their doors might not even been open in 2 years. So,
yeah. And we all know Jackie is a very well known, very good at her job. So I would say, imagine what it would be without her. Like we wouldn't even be having this tasting or discussion probably at all. It would probably just be nobody would pick it up. So I doubt there's a lot of resale on these bottles though. Like there's not a lot of people going back in for the second bottle. Yeah, that's true. So
how fast is this going? Is this really popular?
The original batch sold out like instantaneously because everybody was on the Jackie train. The new one just sat at Liquor Barn today and it was on the allocated table. But they did just release, and this also makes me question where it's going. The newest batch is finished in Madeira casks. So they've already jumped on the finishing train, which
And I was going to bring that up. It's like, when you're just starting out, we've seen this with several craft places. You don't have to start with a bourbon until your bourbon's ready. You can do gin.
Mm-hmm.
You can do vodka. You can do finished product.
Right. Yeah.
You can get, what is it when you bring in somebody else's and you kind of use that?
Sourced.
Yeah.
Source. Yeah. So you can source. Like, you got some options. So I'm with that line of thinking of they may have pushed it a little bit, which is unfortunate because when you're talking quality being attached to a name,
that's a brand.
Yeah. So it's like you shouldn't be putting something out there unless you are 100% proud of that, because now like that gets attached to you. So yeah. You can find other things that same age would be way better.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I'm not going to buy another bottle, but I would be willing, if it's at a bar for tasting or something like that, I would be intrigued to try one of the new batches, as long as it's not crazy expensive.
I agree.
I would say, I don't know, up to $10 a pour. I would probably be willing to go, maybe a little bit higher, probably not, and give it a shot. Like, I will be going back because I do think eventually it's going to be a very good bourbon, but I think Chuck kind of hit it on the head with it's going to be a couple years.
I would buy like sourced 6-year MGP over this, especially $80. Like, good grief. You have so many options. Like, this is really a hard miss for me. And I'm kind of disappointed, I guess, that they even would put this out.
Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah.
We'll see if we just ticked a bunch of people off by our assessment of this.
Yeah. I dare you to buy a bottle of Hidden Barn and tell us that we're crazy.
Not the Patreon guys. Don't do that. Listen to us.
Please don't.
That's why you watch the channel.
Yep. But yeah, so once again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Cheers.
Sorry, Brian wasn't here to experience this really great craft whiskey. This was right up his alley.